Còn đây mình bắt đầu tiếp tục còn yêu chúng ta được ở đâu của sẽ these are no other than Mr. Samuel. Welcome to Book on Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Simon, and can you please introduce yourself?
Daniel, my name's Simon Yeats, originally from Australia, and now live in the US. I'm an author, sort of by sort of default, or just my reasons for writing are quite varied, both ends of the spectrum, which hopefully you'll hear about. Yeah, I've got a couple of books here to push for your listeners, and hopefully they'll enjoy them.
Yes, yes, yes. So, what is the big difference? Living in the Australia and living in the US.
Way more high strung living here in the US. And it's amazing. Every time I go home, it would take 24, 48 hours for me to come down from here down to there, just to the pace of life for everyone back home. And you're in Canada, aren't you? Same thing in Canada. When you go to Canada, it takes like 24 hours. They go, oh my God, yeah, everyone in Canada's on this pace. Why the hell am I running around like a chicken with its head cut off? And you sort of go, yeah, okay, you relax and you sort of take everything a little bit in stride rather than being a little bit too bent out of shape. That's the biggest difference for me. Very, very, very noticeable from the moment you step off the plane.
So, which one is more enjoyable to live, Australia or the US?
Mate, I have the enviable life of when I get on a plane flying back to Australia, I'm happy because I'm going back to see my family. When I get on a plane to come back to the US to live, I'm excited and happy because I'm like, I live overseas and I'm an expat. So I do not have to deal with that horrible feeling of when you've gone to Europe on vacation and you've got to get on the plane and go back knowing, oh my God, I'm going back to work. I'm going back to the normal life that I have. I get excited going both ways. And that was, I had a trip to the US when I was 20 to work in a ski resort. And I remember the feeling on the plane going back of being like, oh my God, the best 3 months of my life. And it's all come to an end. And it was just a horrible plane ride. And most plane rides after a vacation are that sort of like, oh God, now we've got to get back to the usual. Whereas I get to sort of be like, oh, great, I've got my adventure continues, or I'm going back home to my home country and get to see everyone and enjoy my family. So I get it both ways.
So, Mr. Simon, what inspired you to become an author?
You ready for this, mate?
Yes.
I wanted to kill myself. And so I started writing a suicide note. And the night I was doing it, I just kept on wanting to put off jumping off the balcony. So I just kept on writing and just sort of like, okay, maybe I'll make this suicide note a little bit funny. So all the people who read it will go, oh, yep, that's how we remember him when he was alive. And I literally just wrote all night just to keep myself from jumping off the ledge. And that book turned into my my first book, My Second Life. And then I just sort of realized just how enjoyable writing was. It was a great therapy for me in the sort of moment and the 13 years that I've endured, the last 13 years, 14 years of my life that have been very stressful. So that's what made me write. And if I'm sort of like, rather than sitting down in front of the TV, rather than sort of just, doing nothing, I'm not a do nothing type of person. I sit down and I just write a paragraph, I write an email, I write a story, I write something enjoyable and funny, or just reminiscing about my life or about experiences with other people. And sometimes I don't do anything with it. Sometimes I send it off to my mates to cheer them up. Sometimes I turn those stories into my books.
Yes. So can you tell us about your writing process?
Uh, on a day-to-day basis, when I've got working on a book, I get up probably about 5 o'clock, go and walk the dogs, and just sort of in my head, I'll be thinking about a couple of lines of a moment in my uh, history of my life that I think was enjoyable or funny, and I'll start putting together. I write memoirs. That's what I write, and I will then come back down and sit. My girlfriend will be fast asleep in the bed beside me. I'll put in a couple of hours of writing, trying not to wake her up with my chuckling and laughing at myself. And that's when I'm most productive, sort of early in the morning when the world's asleep. And that's where living in the US becoming high strung. That's what it sort of if I was back in Australia, I would never have written a single word. I would have just been too laid back and not giving a crap. But being sort of like always on the go in the States, I've got to fill up as much of my day with doing something uh, uh, useful, beneficial, productive. I think is the right word to make something happen.
So it's better to live than in the US. You were more productive. So what
Yeah,
challenges
far more productive in the US. Not necessarily saying it's a great thing, but yes, far more productive in the US.
so what challenges have you faced in your writing career?
Uh, the overcoming the self-doubt that there is no other challenge. Uh, that's it. Everyone's got a story to tell, even if it's the first version of it may not be the best piece of work. And I don't think there's anyone in the history of the world that's ever written a story first up without then having to go back and redo it and rewrite it. But if you write something and then you have the self doubt that no, it's not very good, it's never going to be any good, I can't do it. You know, you are you are going to be your worst enemy. Um, and that was, trust me, if you're writing a book about an event in your life that wanted you to jump off a 20-story building and kill yourself, and if you think no one's going to read this, no one's going to care, then you are setting yourself up for a bigger failure than just writing a book that no one wants to buy. It'll destroy you emotionally, psychologically, physically. Um, and so I had to think about that every single day during the years of rewrites that, Jesus, if I write this book and no one cares, how am I going to react to that? How am I going to feel about it? And then you think, just stop, just don't go ahead there. That would be the easy way out. So that was the biggest challenge, is overcoming that self-doubt and that fear of what if no one cares.
Okay, so how do you handle writer's block then?
I wish I could tell someone I never have writer's block. Have never had it in my life. I can talk the ear off a friggin' donkey, and it is just having a conversation. Maybe I'm a little bit crazy, but I just can have a conversation with myself, and so I can sit down and write. You know, I can watch TV and think, okay, I'll write 30 minutes writing a funny story about some 5-minute clip I saw on TV. I have never been at a loss for words or expressing uh, my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings about a subject. As I say, that's not the problem. The biggest problem for me is the fear of, what stops me is, after I write this brilliant piece of work that I've got in my head, is anyone going to read it? Is anyone going to care? It's not that I don't have the information or the words and everything flowing out of me. It's that I will be stopped by the thought that, what's the point of doing it? You know, uh, so I sort of tracked myself, write so that, because no one's going to read it. Write it because you just enjoy doing it. Um, and that's, I say, I write because I enjoy doing it. I don't care what everyone does. I think to be honest with you, to be a little bit arrogant. That's one thing about living in the US has also made me a little bit more arrogant. In Australia, people would knock you down if you started to be arrogant. But I think I've written four of the funniest books about travel experiences that anyone would ever read. No one has had the experiences that I have had. They have been bizarre, wild, wacky, insane, and anyone would sit there and go, "Holy crap, this guy has lived a life." That's just unbelievable. But it was fun. Hopefully, it makes people laugh, and not just chuckle, but like laugh their ass off, laugh so that they piss their pants. That's my goal when I write. Not just to have a little smile. I want people rolling on the floor, you know, like tears flowing out of their eyes to go, I can't believe, what this guy did. That's how I like to write.
Well, that Thank you all. More books to come. What authors or books have influenced your writing?
Ah, uh, the Around Island with a Fridge by Tony Hawks, um, Bill Bryson, all the Bill Bryson uh, books. I was a big fan of Clive Cussler when I was uh, a young man. Loved his adventure stories. I don't read as much now because I spend all my time writing as opposed to to reading, and I use the sort of the analogy that reading a book is like smoking a doob at a party, while writing a book is like getting to snort a line of cocaine. So if I was at a party and someone offered me a line of coke versus a joint, I'd be like, oh fuck, I'll take the line of coke. That's far more exciting. So I get far more thrill out of writing and expressing myself out of I do of reading. I love reading. My own stuff. I read it over and over and over and over again. But I've in the last since I started writing, I've curtailed my reading quite a lot because I just I'm like I could use that time for writing myself. But yeah, those books, Round Island with the Fridge, hilarious. That just inspired me. Here's one guy just by himself, just traveling around Ireland carrying a fridge, and that's a lot like the things that have gone on in my life. I've traveled a lot by myself. Quit jobs. I've faked my own death to quit a job, so I could go on a trip to South Africa. I've just decided at the drop of a hat, I'm going to jump in a car and drive across the country, just because I'm bored and want something to do. So I've lived a life without much regret, except for one or two things, and the seeing that other people have done that and been able to write about it was like going, shit, if someone else can do about it, I can do it too.
Yes, everybody can do it if they have the courage to do it and stop procrastinating. So, how do you approach research for your books?
Mate, I generally pull out a photo album and I sit there and all of my books are uh, memoirs of short memoir of trips and things that have gone on when I was living as an expat, going home, visiting my family in Australia, going on a trip to Japan, Thailand, Europe, South Africa, the Bahamas, going to different states in the US. So I'll write a chapter that will be, 8 pages of this particular episode that sort of occurred, and then the jokes will tie in with other experiences that I've had before in other books or after. And I will. Sorry, you have to tell me. My brain is. I've completely forgotten the question. What was the question again?
No worries.
Oh, how do I
Listen.
how do I approach? Yeah, so then I look at the photo album and then I go, okay, yeah, what was unique or funny about that? And I go, yep, okay, right, I've got 8 pages. I've been able to write an engaging, funny story about that episode, and then I just piece them all together. I piece them all together by geographical regions. My first book is about things in Australia, New Zealand, uh, Japan, Thailand, India. Next book was about adventures and stuff in the US and in South America. Next book was about Europe, things that the stories of happened when I went to Europe. And my last book that I just completed is just a mishmash of stories that didn't make the cut for the first versions, or stuff that I honestly had just completely forgotten about. And then I saw a picture and went, oh my God, that's right. That stupidity happened when I was in, South Africa as well. I can write a story about it.
Okay, before we go, Mr. Simon, I want to shout out my listeners according to pod charts because in Suriname I got number 5 on the Apple chart, number 10 in St. Kitts and Nevis, and number 69 in Paraguay. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast because this podcast is created to empower writers, authors all over the world like Mr. Simon Yates. And of course, my Geography 101 in Italy, Korea, Canada, Egypt, and Hungary. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. I'm inviting you to be my guest on Geography 101, Mr. Simon, and talk about your experiences traveling the world. And of course, my Food 101. Please, people, thank you so much for supporting this podcast in Indonesia, India, Philippines, Canada, and New Zealand. And please do purchase one of my Food 101 merchandise. Speaking of Food 101, I want to plug in my Food 101 merchandise, people. Name it, and we have it from accessory mugs, accessory pouch, well, apron, of course, beach towel, and many more. Available on Etsy and Shopify. Please do purchase them and support our Food 101. And please do listen to my latest episode. We talk about Italian street food. So please do listen Food 101. So Mr. Simon, what advice do you have for aspiring writers?
Uh, just put it on the paper. Just write. When you're starting off, uh, get something down, go back and look at it, redo it again. The best advice I ever heard was write something, leave it alone for a couple of weeks, a month, go back and read it again. I do that with my books. I love the fact that ebooks you can literally uh, print on demand. You can literally go back and say, you know what, I've just thought of something absolutely hilarious to go at the end of this sentence in that book on that chapter, and I will go back and stick it in. Months after it. The book has already been sort of published because it can be uploaded easily. So just you're never going to be perfect the first time. Just be happy that you've got something down that kills the procrastination bug. You've got something down. Then you go back and enjoy the rewriting. Writing is actually rewriting. It's not that you're going to be perfect. And I love rewriting. I love going back and being very critical. I can do better. I can do better. I can do better than what I've just done. And that's what keeps me going. Is the idea that I'm never going to be perfect, but I can keep on going and trying to improve it and make it as good as possible. And if you love that aspect of it, you're home and hosed, because that's where most people, I would imagine, don't love that, because you've got to rewrite something 10 times. I've been working on my books literally for 10 years before I finally started publishing them. Uh, Actually, shoot, my suicide attempt was probably 15 years ago, so I started writing 15 years ago. So yeah, it takes time, but I'll say enjoy the process, and you've succeeded, because again, think of all the people that everyone has a book in them. How many people didn't even start writing that first word? I meet a lot of people who say, "Oh my God, you've written books. I would love to write a book." Just do it. Just freaking do it.
Yes. Do it, people. If you have the passion of writing, write, and share to the world like Mr. Simon Yates. So can you share a memorable moment from your writing career?
Yes. Okay. So here's a great story, and these are the type of stories that I have. So when I told you that I went to the States when I was 20 years of age. That was my first visit over, and I was there for 3 months working in a ski resort. Literally signed up for this university exchange by myself. Ended up with two guys who were the year above me from my high school that had signed up that I didn't know about, and met another guy that I knew who was not one of my direct friends, but was a friend of people that I already knew at university. So the four of us met up in the ski resort. We were all assigned to work in the same ski resort with our jobs, and we got an apartment together. And we had 3 months that was still the best 3 months of my life, the most memorable, most developing as my personality and my confidence. And I met a girl, and she became my American girl, and she was my first girlfriend I ever had. And she was going to come when I went back. She was going to come and visit me in Australia, but we lost touch. She stopped writing letters, and she disappeared from my life. Then when I first started to write my books, about I think it was 7, 8 years before that, when I'd broken up with a girlfriend, I got on Facebook, and she had a rather unique name. So every person with her name, I was sending, "Are you so and so from Steamboat 1988? Are you so to all the people?" Never heard back from anyone. 7, 8 years later, I'm sitting at my desk starting on my first book. I'm probably 4 or 5 chapters in, and bing, Facebook Messenger goes, yes, it's me. And it was that girl. And I was like, oh my God, like quickly, get on the phone, catch up. And I said, well, what are you doing? I said, I told her about the whole sorry story about that was leading to my depression and wanting to commit suicide. And I said, I started writing a suicide story and a note, and it's turning into a book. And she goes, send it to me. I want to read it. And I was like, oh, I don't want anyone to read it. She goes, no, send it to me. Let me read it. I love reading books. I want to read it. So I sent her the first 3 chapters. And about a week later, I got a piece of mail, and it was a little note, and it was a coffee mug. The coffee mug said, fuck off, I'm writing. And the little note was, sorry, your chapters are brilliant. Keep going. You know, someone that I had lost, I think it was 20 years, maybe 15 years since we'd lost contact. And we sort of just connect just at that moment in life, just the universe aligned stuff. And I have so many stories of me being in another country and running into someone that I knew from years ago, or something, that the world is so much smaller than people have any idea. And moments, it's that moment still with my writing was the when I had that first self-doubt. What's the point of me doing this? And I thought, wow, this has all come about from my writing. This has opened up a whole new appreciation of life and the world, which I desperately needed at the moment. But if I'd sat there not thinking, if I hadn't reached out, if I hadn't basically taken a chance, then I may not be here right now. So it's the world is an amazing place. It also sucks big time. But you've got to deal with both of those things. Like I say, my writing is all about the absolute best times in my life, and it is about the absolute worst times in my life. So depending on which book you're gonna pick up, you're either gonna get something that's gonna break you down and have you on the floor crying your eyes out, or you're gonna be laughing your ass off on the floor, crying your eyes out. Those are your 2 choices I'm gonna give.
Yes, yes, yes. So how do you balance writing with the other aspects of your life?
Phew, I don't balance it very well at all. My girlfriend will tell you. Sometimes when I'm writing, it consumes me, and she cops the short end of the stick. And she's sort of like, one day I hope to be one of your books, because when I write, like say, each of my books, because I'd already sort of written a lot of the stories in some form. Each of those books probably took me about a month to 6 weeks to recompile, re-edit, and bring out in their current forms. And during that 6 week period, I will care about nothing else. I will just be every spare waking moment of the day. I'll be at the gym, and I'll be doing a workout, and I'll suddenly think of one funny line. I'll stop the workout, run back to the house, jump into the computer while I'm still sweating, type it in, go and have a shower, come back down. Yep, I'm in the mood. I'll want to write. It is. That's very much my personality. I can get very obsessive compulsive. Again, if you read the story of my second life, you'll probably understand exactly why I have such an urgency and such a desperation in my life, unlike probably anyone else. And yeah, so there's not a lot. Unfortunately for me, there's not a lot of balance when it comes to writing. I am all in, or I am not at all.
What are some themes or topics that you are passionate about exploring in your writing?
Mental health. I think that's probably the critical. Even to say, my writing was my mental health therapy for being, and it's still been for the last 14 years. I'm a little bit worried, having just finished my latest book, How to React when woken at 3 a.m. by drunk Argentinian backpackers when staying in a youth hostel, and other lesser known travel tips. Now that I've just finished that book, I'm a bit worried I'm going to be like, I'm going to be not excited about the funny things that have gone on with my life. So I'm going to be a little bit sort of twiddling my thumbs and worried I'm going to be like, I'm going to start to get, the dark side of my life that still exists 14 years later is still going to be hanging around. I'll be like, what am I gonna do? Once again, I've talked so much that I've forgotten what the question was. Uh, what was the question again, mate?
So, how has your writing evolved over time?
Yeah, it's still exactly the same. It gets very intense and then long periods of nothing at all. I last year when I compiled the first three books in my Lesson on Travel Trip series, from put the first one out, I was just going to do one, and then I was like finished it, and like I couldn't get on the second one fast enough. Second one came out, boom, got the third one done. I sort of set myself a stupid goal. I'm going to have them all out by New Year's Eve, 2023. Did that, and then um, stopped writing again. And then just last month, where did I go? Went on a trip somewhere. Went on a trip to Montana, and I was like, oh, this was such a great travel. I said, you know what? I need to write another travel book and about more experiences and whatever. So boom, I've just spent the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks redoing, writing new stories, going and finding some of the stories that I had left in my Dropbox to sort of say, oh yeah, they didn't make the cut on some other, and compiling my other and say I've gotten probably better and sharper. I know sort of more of what my voice is now. As I said, I spent probably 10 years writing, then putting out a book and then going, oh, this sucks, and then just pulling it back and then change the title and then going back to rewriting in a completely different voice, like not being secure that okay, the voice that I want that I am. I shouldn't write like that. I need to write like the Bill Bryson, or I shouldn't write like myself. I need to write like someone who's actually written well. And then you get to a point where you go, you know what, screw that. I'm going to write how I want to write. Damn it. If no one loves it, no one likes it, I don't care. I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not to anyone. So when I got to that point, that yeah, I've got confidence in myself that I can write something, excuse the French, fucking funny, more funny than anything else. And I said, yep, I can do it. And then the books came out. The next version of the books and the stories came out very, very easy.
Yes, so Mr. Simon, how do you handle feedback or criticism of your work?
Oh, mate, I will. No one criticizes me because I will tear them down. To my second life, okay, the book about the reasons that led me to want to be suicide. Someone gave me a 1-star review somewhere in the world. Okay, that person never wants to meet me walking down the street. That uh, I was very open and honest about many painful things in my life. In that book, then there was no blurb. There was just a 1-star review. So I still am burning with anger over that, as I am still burning with anger over a lot of the stuff that's in my second life. And if you read it, you would understand why. And I'm never going to get over that. I will go to my grave with an absolute anger to the people who caused me such pain, who have caused me such pain, who are still causing me pain in my life right now. Um, uh, so I probably don't handle criticism very well. So that doesn't stop anyone from criticizing me. You're more than welcome, but be prepared for some kickback. You know, I'm not going to sit you. I will anyone who wants to doubt my authenticity, my honesty, my passion about the subjects, my subjects about travel, or the subjects about my life and my mental health and situations that lead people to have struggles with their mental health. I will defend my point of view with every drop of breath in my body. I have no plan. And I would sit there and say, I have a very quick answer to anyone who wants to doubt. Okay, you know what? Let's make a bet. Your net worth. I bet your net worth against my net worth that, you know, what I say, what I've written is about is true, that I have not lied, and I have done it, and everyone backs down. And all I can think is, you ballless motherfucker. If you don't have the balls to put everything you own on the line, don't speak to me, because I sure as hell do.
Very well said, Mr. Simon. So, what are some of your goals or aspirations as a writer?
To keep enjoying it. That's it. Nothing greater than that. To have one person, if one person tells me, I read your books and I laughed my ass off, or I read your book, My Second Life, and it gave me hope and inspiration for the struggles that I've been. That's all it takes. One person. If I can help or affect one person, I've done more than 99% of people on this planet. I know that in my professional life, I have helped people that no one else in the world has helped regain their independence in life. All it would have taken would have just one. I could live off the first person I did it to, that I took from basically being told you're never going to function again, and I had him walking in 30 minutes. You know, his life would have been completely different if it hadn't been for my intervention. And I have done that hundreds of times with patients that have been given up by everyone, and I've come along and said, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake, and I've got them to recover. So like I say, it only took one of them, and that's all I hope with my books, that one person reads and go, you know what, this just was appealed to me, it spoke to me, you know, I'm going to have a better life now. I'm going to do better in my life because, you know, again, I can't say it enough. If you've been on the edge of jumping off a friggin' 20-story building and you can then come back to sit down and want to write and want to make other people happy and not really care about, you know, how yourself feel, because I still deal with the shit that I'm going through every single day. But my main goal is, if I can make one person happy, even if I'm not happy, then I've done well.
Done well, Mr. Simon. So can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they get the video of it, but this is the book that started it all, My Second Life, and I just used my last name on the bottom. That led to my next book, How to Start a Riot in a Brothel in Thailand by Ordering a Beer and Other Less Known Travel Tips. That led to my second book, How to Avoid Getting Mugged in Rio de Janeiro by Singing Songs by the Police and Other Less Known Travel Tips, which led to my third book, How to Survive Making Yourself Look Silly While Dancing with the German Mafia at a Bavarian Nightclub and Other Less Known Travel Tips. And I think the titles of those books pretty much sum up everything that a person would want to think what was inside. You know, it's easy if you want to sit back and enjoy the misfortunes of someone else who enjoys self-depreciating humor. I could laugh at myself more than anything else. Then you know, you'll enjoy my books. I get in some pretty insane, crazy situations. Not because I'm not looking for it. I am the most risk-averse person on the planet. But life had a way of pretty much, you know, making me end up in situations that all I could do afterwards, even though I was scared, terrified at the time, is laugh my ass off about it. I was saying, at least I'm alive. You know, at least I've got, you know, a memory of that. You know, I can share that memory, humorous memory, to the rest of the world. And again, hopefully they can get a laugh out of it and go, you know what, my life isn't so bad.
Yes, people, tune in next week. We're gonna talk about the first book of Mr. Simon Yates, My Second Life. So, Mr. Simon, thank you for your time.
Thanks, bud.
Modicom people, see you soon.